Okay, welcome to our penultimate night of this Ramayana Yajna. I am seeing Sudhamma is here. Yes? Okay. We'll begin, everyone, with our invocation prayer. महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सरस्वते नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणे विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं Let us sing Bhagwan's name. Ram 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 Varna Rasanam Chandasamapī Mangalanam Chakartaro Vande Vani Vinayako Bhavani Shankaro Vande Shraddha Vishwasarupino Yabhyam Vina Na Pashyanti Siddha Swantastameshwaram Vande Bodhamayam Nityam Rupinam Yamashrito Hi Vakropi Chandra Sarvatra Vandyate Sitaram Gunakrama Punyaranya Viharino Shuddha Vijnano Kavishwara Kapishwaro Udbhavasthiti Samharakarini Kleshaharini Shreyaskarim Sitam Natoham Rama Vallabha. This Tulsi Ramayanam, Balakandam, we are seeing Goswami Tulsidas ji doing invocations, salutations and prostrations. Mangalacharanam to begin this grand telling of the tale of Bhagwan Sri Rama. Few nights we have gone through each of these Mangalacharana shlokas. And now slowly we are concluding with our last two in tonight's satsang. But again and again we should remind ourselves why this Mangalacharanam, why Namaskara, why we are invoking Bhagwan's grace and blessings before entering into any great work, any great task. We are really only trying to pay attention to, recognize and tune with Bhagwan, the totality, recognizing our place, recognizing our interdependence, and actually recognizing not only interdependence but total dependence on Bhagwan for every aspect in our lives. Yesterday we reflect over wherein if we really give good thought to how many things Bhagwan is taking care of in our lives, really speaking, we cannot not help but offer namaskara, offer vandana. Therefore, the more and more I recognize Bhagwan's place in my life, my place in the cosmic, a natural expression, a spontaneous expression of that would be to offer, seek blessings, offer salutations. Yesterday, as we were concluding our satsang, our final Mangalacharanam that we were seeing, Udbhavasthiti samhara karinim klesha harinim sarvashreyas karim sitam natoham rama vallabham. This Mangalacharanam Goswamiji does prostrations, salutations to Sita Mata, who personifies Maya Shakti, Jagat Janani. This Maya Shakti, because of which this entire world comes into being. This Maya Shakti at the same time is also Klesha Harinim, the one who removes all of our kleshas, avidya, asmita, ragat, dvesha, abhinivesha. These all points we saw yesterday. So the one who removes all of these causes of afflictions in our lives. And how does Maya Shakti Devi do that? Sarva Shreyas Karim. By bestowing upon us that which is not just Shreyas, Sarva Shreyas. The best of the best. That which is for my absolute good. So many things can provide for, allow for prosperity in my life. But maximum prosperity, and not just in this life or next life, but for all of eternity. What is that which will really bestow upon me absolute prosperity? So the one because of whom we are able to even gain this knowledge, the Sarva Shreyas Karim Sita, the one who brings spiritual path into our lives, Guru into our lives, satsang into our lives. That's Sita Mata who represents that Maya Shakti who in one way also brings obstacles, in one way also brings solutions. Vidya Maya, Avidya Maya. It can bind me also, it can release me also. To that Sita Mata, Natoham Rama Vallabham, I offer salutations to Sita Mata who is Rama Vallabham. And we saw yesterday, if we were to speak about Maya, a simple way of understanding Maya is magic. And for every magic to be able to see its glory and play at work, that magic requires someone to wield it, the magician. So Rama Vallabha means the magician behind the magic of this entire universe. The magic is Sita Mata, Devi, Shakti, Maya. But the magician behind which this entire universe is made possible, that magician is Rama. Therefore Rama Vallabham. That magic, Maya Shakti, Devi is supported by that Paramatma, Parabrahma, Ishvara, who is represented here as Rama in Tulsi Ramayana. So now we have to see who is this Rama, who is this magician. So many people have a question, they say, this Tulsi Ramayana is not Advaita Vedanta. This Tulsi Ramayana is Dvaitam, duality, or Bhakti text. This I mentioned earlier also. They say, this is not Advaita Vedanta, this is milder form of Vedanta. Dvaita Vedanta. It has duality as its central theme. So is this an Advaita Vedanta text or not? So how many of us think yes, this Tulsi Ramayana is in line with Advaita Vedanta, means it is in line with the Upanishads. You can raise your hand if you think yes. Tulsi Ramayana is in line with Upanishads. You can raise your hand. Some of us are scratching our heads. So we will know now, because in next Shloka, this next Mangalacharanam, Goswamiji gives the premier example of Advaita Vedanta, by which we know in his heart what is his darshana, what is his vision. So now we are going to see this Mangalacharanam which talks about, depicts who Bhagwan Sri Rama really is. See, various ideas we can have about Rama. One idea of Rama is, he is son of Dashratha, one great king who was once upon a time there in India. Or we can say, Rama was a god-like man, a great human being, a divine human being, but still a man. Or someone say, no, Rama is a devata. One of the devatas, they took a form and they came as Rama. But see what Goswamiji, Tulsidas Ji thinks of Bhagavan Sri Rama. Whom is Sri Rama in his vision, in his darshana? So that now is given in this next 6th Mangalacharanam. So Sudha Amma, you can repeat after me. Yanmaya Vashavarti Vishwamakhilam Brahmadi Deva Sura Yat Sattvad Amrshaiva Bhati Sakalam Rajau Yatha Nirbrahmaha Yatpadaplavamekame hi bhavam Bodhe stitir shavata Vandeham tamasheshakarana param Ramakhyamisham harim. Together everyone. Yanmaya vashavarti vishwamakhilam Brahma बोधे स्थितिर्षावता वन्देऽहं तमशेष कारणपरं रामाख्यमीशं हरिम् रामाख्यमीशं हरिम्. Vandeham, aham vande. I offer salutations. Again, Goswamiji pointing out these are all Mangala Charana Shloka is offering prostrations and salutations to Bhagwan. But now, offering salutations to whom? The very subject matter of Tulsi Ramayana. Rama. Therefore, if we notice, the meter, the verse itself has a lot more lines. A lot more syllables. Means lot is there to speak about the theme or the subject matter of this Tulsi Ramayana, none other than Bhagwan Sri Rama himself. So now let us see what is Goswamiji's darshana, vision of Bhagwan Sri Rama. Vandeham tamashesha karana param ramakhyam isham harim. So the very last line we are going to see first. Aham Vande, I offer salutation, prostrations to Harim. Harim means what? So one meaning of Hari is Bhagwan Narayana. Bhagwan Narayana, Lord Vishnu, whom is depicted as the one who is responsible for the preservation of this universe, maintaining the balance of dharma and adharma in this universe. Anytime we hear this word, Lord the preserver, the sustainer, sustenance in this universe means keeping the balance of dharma and adharma. You may say, how can that be sustenance? You think about it a little bit. Every avatar that Bhagwan takes, does Bhagwan destroy all bad? You think carefully, huh? Every avatar that Bhagwan takes, does Bhagwan destroy all bad in this universe? All Bhagwan does is set course to what is to be balanced. Meaning, if there is any point in the universal experience of all jivas where adharma is overpowering dharma, where unrighteousness is overpowering righteousness, then the universal balance is kept in check by the avatar. Never total adharma is destroyed, because the universe works in the duality of pairs of opposites, hot and cold, right and wrong, respect and disrespect, honor and criticism. So too, dharma and adharma. The balance of the universe is kept in check by the avatar. So Bhagwan also, Harim, who represents the sustainer, the preserver of this universe, Bhagwan Narayana, Goswami Tulsidas says, this is the very Narayana who is the preserver, sustainer, who maintains the balance of the universe. That same Hari, Narayana, is now Ramakhyam. Rama Akhyam. Akhyam means Nama. Akhya means Nama, name. So that very Harim, Narayana, is Rama. So this is first understanding of who is Lord Rama. From one standpoint, he is another name for Hari, Narayana. Now that Narayana is whom? Who is now getting the name Rama? It is said, Ramakhyam Isham Harim. He is not no ordinary Devata. He is Isham. Isham means Ishwaraha. Ishvara means what? All knowledge, all power, all vairagya, all prosperity. Everything in full measure is called Ishvara, Bhagavan. The one who has all great qualities in its fullest measure is called Bhagavan, Ishvara. And not only that, beautifully in our Shastra it is said, Ishvara is whom? He can do it, not do it, or do it otherwise. He has full freedom. Kartum, akartum, anyatha va kartum. He can do, he cannot do, or he can do otherwise. He is not affected by law of karma. We jivas, do we have the freedom to do what we want, when we want, however we want, or not do? Let me see any one of us say, today right now I'm going to not breathe. Let me see. Or today I'm not going to walk on land, I'm going to walk on water. Let me see. So freedom is, of course, for all jiva is limited, but for Ishvara, there is no such thing as impossible for Ishvara. All power, all knowledge, all ability in its fullest measure, without any bondage in the form of karma phala. That Ishvara who is Sarva Shakti, Sarvavit, Sarvagnya, Sarvavyapi, all pervading, that same Paramatma Ishvara who is known as Narayana, he alone is now being called as Rama. So first idea of Rama is Narayana. Second idea of Rama is Ishvaraha. Now you may think, what is the difference? Ishvaraha, Narayana, they sound same. So Narayana means what? Bhagwan in Saguna and Sakara form. Saguna, Sakara Rupa. With attributes and with form. It's called Narayana. But Bhagwan without form, but with attributes is called Ishvaraha. Saguna, Nirakara Rupa. Saguna means with attributes, all power, all knowledge, etc. But no form. It's called Ishvara. So first understanding of Rama is Saguna Sakara, with attributes and with form. Narayana. Second understanding of Rama is Isham, Ishvaraha, Saguna, but Nirakara, with attributes, but no form. And finally, the third understanding of Bhagwan is given in the very first two lines. And that is only further elaborated in the last line, that last adjective, Tam Ashesha Karana Param. So we'll leave that word for last, alright? Because that is the very culmination of the understanding of who is Rama. So how did we start? First, Narayana. He is none other than Harim. Saguna Sakara, with attributes and with form. So it means the avatar of Hari, Narayana, Vishnu. Second understanding, he is none other than Ishvaraha Saguna Nirakara. He is actually Paramatma, Parabrahma, who is with attributes but no form. Ishvaraha. And finally, what is explained? So now let us see the first line. Yanmaya Vashavarti Vishwamakhilam Brahmadi Deva Suraha. It is said, Yan Maya Vashavarti Akhilam Vishwam. Akhilam Vishwam Vashavarti. Meaning, the one with whose power, Yan Maya, the one with whose power, with whose Shakti, that Shakti which was said earlier to be, Udbhavastiti Samhara Karinim, Klesha Harinim, Sarvashreyas Karim Sitam, that Shakti, Yan Maya. Yan Maya Vashavartim, the one in whom taking control, Vashavarti means to take into control, who has it under his grasp. That reality, that Purusha, that universal being who has Maya under his grasp, means who wields the power of Maya. Means who are we talking about? The magician. The magician who wields the power of Maya, because of which Akhilam Vishwam, this entire universe, starting from whom? Brahmadi Deva Suraha. Brahmaji, all devatas, asuras, etc. means all beings, by whose power this entire universe and all beings are under control, in order, in balance, in check. The one who is Maya, the owner of that Maya, the will universe in check. who controls and rules over this entire universe and all beings. Now hearing this, we may become a little apprehensive that what? There's someone with some magic who is ruling over all of us? Is this a communist universe? We have some ruler ruling over all of us. And here I thought I had all my freedom in the world, and you are telling me there is one person or one being with some magic power running the show? So what this is pointing out here, that when it is said, Bhagwan with whose power of Maya, all beings are held in control. All beings are in order, kept in balance. So what we should understand here, we should not use our imagination too much in these ideas. What Goswamiji is trying to point out here is what? You see, everything in this universe is functioning because of the laws of this universe. Without the laws of the universe being maintained, there will be chaos. Think about it. Don't just accept because we are saying. If the laws of the universe are not kept in place and maintained, a simple thing like the wonderful planetary rotation because of which our planet is able to sustain life, that would not be possible. Every law, all of our technology and gadgets that we are using today, the laws of electromagnetism, which have stayed true till this day, since Faraday discovered it, because that law has been maintained since that time, since all of time when he had discovered it, because of that today only we are able to enjoy these Zoom classes. So who is maintaining it? And if that was not maintained, what would happen? Whole universe is running in sync and not in chaos because of the laws of the universe governing all beings and all inert and inanimate objects also. This is one aspect, the laws and principles of the universe which govern the inanimate. What about the laws of the universe governing the sentient? You imagine if law of karma was not in place. You think, if law of karma was not in place, I do the action and you get the result. Think. You know, you say, if you do the crime, you'll pay the time. If law of karma was not there, what would it be? I do the crime, you'll get the time, you'll pay the time. Or, I don't do the action, but I get the result. Think how many things can go wrong in our lives if this law of karma was not in place. You see, we have so much faith in the law of karma, we don't even think about it. We have so much faith in our ability to perform action to get that desired result. Correct or not? Without that faith, would we pursue anything with any great effort in this universe? Education, finance, family life, whatever it may be. Because of that nishtha, that abidance and that faith in karma and the law of karma, we are able to positively and enthusiastically engage in any activity. Because we know our effort will match the result. So you imagine what life would be like without that law being in place and maintained also. To do an action and never get its result, or to not do an action but get a result. What chaos would there be? So whether it be the laws of the universe for the material world, the inanimate world of objects, or the laws because of which all jiva, sentient beings are able to enjoy the world that we experience, those laws are maintained by whom? Yan Maya Vashavarti. That Lord, because of whom all beings are kept in check, because all laws of the universe are maintained, that Lord is Rama. The Lord who maintains and sustains all laws of this universe by which we are sustained. Whether it be Brahmaji, all beings, all devatas, all the way up to the inanimate objects also. Now we may think, Brahmaji, why does Brahmaji need Bhagwan? You see, Brahmaji also has a lifespan, very much longer than ours. But just like we don't want to live forever, does any one of us want to go on getting old? At a certain point in time, when this body becomes a burden, no one wants to carry this body. So even for Brahmaji also, when the creation is about to come to its end, when the kalpa is over, Brahmaji also wants to pack up his shop. Hey, why should I continue? I also should be able to dissolve this body with the rest of the universe. So even for Brahmaji also, which is considered to be the highest position in this universe that a jiva can attain, the position of Brahmaji. When you do lot of good punya karma, you do lot of upasana, means contemplation, you can attain the position of Brahmaji. Now don't get excited here. Someone may say, you know what, I like the sound of that. I also want to become Brahmaji. So according to our Shastras, the Brahmaji for the next cycle is already booked. So that is already taken, so you'll have to join the line. A good few persons are there. Hanumanji is also in that list. So a lot of people are there in that list to become Brahmaji. So we'll have to wait a while if we want such a position. But idea is, the most exalted being in this universe, Brahmaji, all the way to Devatas, Asuras, all of them require Bhagwan for their sustenance, maintenance. Not only sentient, all insentient also require Bhagwan for its maintenance and sustenance. So that Bhagwan, who is the sustainer, the one in whose control with this Maya Shakti, this entire universe is maintained and sustained, that Lord is none other than Rama. So what is pointed out here? Bhagwan Sri Rama as the intelligent, efficient cause of this universe. In Sanskrit, Nimitta Karanam. Nimitta Karanam. The intelligent, efficient cause of this universe. Nimitta Karanam. That's all. Bhagwan is only Nimitta intelligent cause. Say, no. Yat Satvat Amrashaiva Bhati Sakalam Rajjao Yathahir Brahmaha. Say, no. Bhagwan is not only the intelligent cause who is maintaining all the laws. He is also Yat Satvat. Because of his isness, existence, Sakalam, everything of this universe, Amrisha Eva Bhati. So Amrisha Eva, no, Amrisha Eva. Amrisha Eva Bhati. See, Mrisha means false. Amrisha means not false. Due to that Lord Paramatma, Brahma, now we should understand, due to that Lord Brahma Paramatma, this Sakalam, this entire world of plurality, Amrishaiva Bhati, it appears to be not false. Means the one who lends existence, the one who lends the material for the entire universe, the one who is the very support and substratum of the entire universe is Rama. Yat Satvat, the one whose existence, because of which Sakalam, all of this entire universe of plurality, Amrishaiva Bhati, this entire universe of plurality appears to be Amrisha, not false. Someone say, what? Because of Bhagwan's nature of existence, Yat Satvat, because of his Sattva, his existence, his Swarupa, his nature being that of existence, this entire world appears to be not real, means not false? Give me an example to highlight that point, no? I don't understand what you are saying, Goswami. He said, let me tell you what I studied in the Upanishads. He says, Rajjau yatha her brahmaha. Now with this example, you know, the only darshana, the only school of philosophy that gives this example is Advaita Vedanta. Yatha Rajjau. Yatha, just as, Rajjau. Rajjau means Rajju, in rope. Yatha Rajjau, just as in rope, Ahehe Brahmaha. Ahehe is in Sanskrit, Ahi means snake. Ahehe means of snake. So there is a Brahmaha, a erroneous perception of Ahi, snake, Rajjau, in rope. Just as there is an erroneous perception of snake in rope. How many of us have heard this example before? The example of snake and rope. So now what is pointed out here, and that is how of course we answer that question, is Tulsi Ramayana in line with Advaita Vedanta or not? You say, how do you know? Look at the Drishtanta, look at the example. The example itself tells of Advaita Vedanta only, Upanishadic teaching only. Just as that a rope is confused, erroneously perceived to be snake. Which means what? So let us see the example first, then we'll go back to that Yat Satvat Amrashaiva Bhati point. At one point, when I am walking along that street in the night, somewhat dark, not totally dark, somewhat dark, If totally dark, I will not see anything. Somewhat dark. I am walking along that road, that trail, that street, and not perceiving clearly what is that object or entity in front of me on that road, I superimpose or I project snake. And I say, look, there is a snake. I don't say there is something like a snake. I don't say there is something which appears to be a snake. I don't say there is snake and something else. I say there is snake. Means I perceive snake and snake alone. And at that point of experience, snake is very much real for me. And because that snake experience I have considered to be real, what rises in my heart? Bhayam, fear. So now what do I think? I need to get as far away as possible from that snake. Now let us say some passerby is coming by. We'll call him Guru. His name is Guru. He's not Guru. He's called Guru. So Guru comes walking by and Guru says, hey, this guy's name who saw the snake, his name is Murkhadiraj. This is his name, not what he symbolizes. Murkhadiraj. So Murkhadiraj says, look, snake is there. I have to get away from this snake. There's something we should try to do to remove this snake. And now Guru comes and Guru says, hey Murkhadiraj, let me turn on flashlight and let me show you what you are calling a snake. You look carefully now. So at the time of experience prior to light, before Guru brought the light, he says, he thinks snake is real and there is only snake. Then Guru brought the light, the flashlight, and said, hey look, what do you see? He sees rope. Now, what will be the statement of Murkhadiraj at that point? Will he say, the snake converted into a rope? Will that be a correct statement? Will he say the snake metamorphosized into the rope? Will he say snake merged into rope? What he will say? There was no snake, there was only rope. What I thought to be snake was illusory, an appearance. There was only, really speaking, one thing and one thing only, rope. I may have perceived it erroneously at one point to be snake. What I thought to be snake was rope and rope alone. Now, applying it to what Bhagavan is saying, Goswamiji is saying in earlier portion. This entire universe is like snake. At the time of experience, it appears to be real. Anyone has any doubt this phone is real? We are all seeing, no? No one has any doubt. This is real, this is phone, it's real only. Actually it is there. And then, like Murkhari Raj, we also try to run away from things in this world, run towards things in this world. And then, real Guru comes in our lives and brings the light of scriptures, Upanishads, and points out to us that the reality we call as this world of plurality, this reality of plurality, really speaking, has one underlying material cause. One underlying substratum and material cause. Like, for example, to better understand. So leave the snake rope example aside. When I go to a potter's shop and I see so many artifacts and vessels made of clay, I see pot, plate, pan, vase, etc. So I can pay attention and see the variety and plurality of so many vessels in that potter shop. Or at a much deeper level, at a much more substantial level, I can say all of it is nothing but clay and clay only. The seeming plurality is in the mere shapes, names and forms which are present. The substance or the material or the reality of all of these varieties of vessels and pots and plates and pans is nothing but clay. Likewise, this entire universe, its material, its substance, its reality is none other than Paramatma. That Paramatma alone is the material cause, the clay of this universe. And this Paramatma alone is the substratum of this universe. Meaning, this entire world has its material, its substance as Bhagavan, Paramatma. And from the standpoint of Brahma, this entire world of names and forms appear like snake on a rope. So what is pointed out here? Some three ideas are pointed out in these first two lines. First line tells Bhagavan is the intelligent, efficient cause of this universe, Nimitta Karanam. The one who is running the show, maintaining the laws, keeping things in check. Second line points out two ideas about who is Rama. Yat Sattvat Amrashaiva Bhati Sakalam. This is pointing out Bhagavan Sri Rama as the material cause of this universe, the Upadana Karanam. Upadana Karanam, the material cause of this universe. But not material cause like taking clay and shaping it into pot. It is not a material cause wherein it undergoes modification. It is the material cause like rope appears to be snake. See, without rope, snake could never be perceived. Rope does not convert itself or modify into snake. It allows for the perception of snake without undergoing any real modification. So it is the material cause, but it is a non-modifying material cause. In our Vedanta, this is called as Vivarta Upadana Karanam. Non-modifying material cause. That non-modifying material cause of the universe means who allows for the variety to be experienced without actually undergoing any change. Just as rope allows for snake to be perceived without rope actually becoming snake. That Paramatma, who is the intelligent cause, efficient cause, Nimitta Karanam, That Paramatma who is the substratum, the Vivarta Upadana Karanam, the non-modifying material cause, that is Rama. So what is said about Rama? Rama is Harim, Narayana, Saguna Sakara, with form and attribute. He is the avatar of Narayana, Harim. Then he is Ishvara, Saguna Nirakara, without any form but with all attributes, Bhagavan. And that Paramatma is really the intelligent, efficient cause because of whom this entire universe and all of its laws are maintained for both insentient and sentient beings. And not only that, it is also the non-modifying material cause, the substratum for the entire plurality to be perceived and experienced. That is Rama, the subject matter of Tulsi Ramayana. But of what good is there to know Rama of this nature? I mean, what use is Rama to me if Rama is Nimitta Karanam, the intelligent cause, and the Upadana Karanam, the material cause? What good is he to me? That is not inspiring me. Tell me something. Just now we heard Rama is really the intelligent cause and the material cause. Did that in our hearts, did that manifest any bhakti in our hearts in that moment? So we may try to define Bhagavan, get a better understanding of the nature of the totality, the nature of Ishvaraha. But what will start bubbling in our hearts? What will allow for bhakti, love for Bhagavan to bubble in our hearts? See, when I understand how that Bhagavan can help me. That Bhagavan is great. That is very good. What that Bhagavan can do for me? This is the Jiva's mindset. Bhagavan is such a great person. Bhagavan is like this. Bhagavan is... What can he do for me? I mean, how can I benefit from such a great Bhagavan? So now Goswami says, let me tell you how that great Bhagavan who is Narayana, who is Ishvaraha, who is the Nimitta Karana, the intelligent cause, who is the Upadana Karanam, the Vivarta Upadana Karanam, the non-modifying material cause, who is the substratum of this universe, the entire plurality appearing in him. Let me tell you what benefit he can bring to your life. And now that is given in the third line. That same Rama who is Brahma, Ishvaraha, Paramatma, Narayana, what use is he to me? Yat pada plavamekam hi bhavam vodhe stitir shavatam. Goswami says, the last word of that line, titir shavatam. Titir shavatam means those who desire to cross. Tirthum ichuhu. Taritum ichuhu. Those who desire to cross. Cross what? Bhava ambodhehe. Ambodhe means, Ambodhi means ocean, sagara. And bhava means change, samsara, continuous finitude and limitation and change. Titir shavatam, those who are desirous of crossing over, bhava ambodhehe. Those who are desirous of crossing over this ocean of samsara, this ocean of change and limitation and finitude and suffering and pairs of opposites and duality and plurality, those who wish to cross over it, then that same Rama who is said to be the intelligent cause, the material cause of this universe, the substratum of this universe, that Rama is yat pada plavam ekamevahi. A very important word. Those who are desirous to cross over this ocean of samsara, this ocean of bhava, constant change, finitude and limitation, that same Rama is his pada, yat pada, the one whose feet. It is said here, Bhagwan's feet is like plava. Plavam ekamevahi. Plava means what? See, one idea of plava is tugboat. Another idea of plava is raft. This also comes in our Gita Dhyana shlokas. Kaivartaka Keshavaha. Bhagavan is like the boatman who guides us. But here they say, no, Bhagavan is not boatman. Bhagavan's feet is the very boat, the very raft. Yat pada plavam ekam evahi. For those titirshavataam, for those who desire to cross over bhava ambodehe, the ocean of this change and limitation and finitude and this samsara, those who wish to cross over this, Bhagavan's feet is the ekameva hi plava, the only raft. Not one of the many rafts, huh? What is given here? Ekam eva hi. See, ekam means one. Goswamiji doesn't only just use ekam. He says ekam eva hi. He means indeed, definitely, without a doubt. Eva means that and that alone, and ekam means one. Means if you think it is one of many parts, he says no, not one of many rafts, one alone. And if he says, oh, you think you have a doubt? He says, no. Ekam eva hi, without a doubt. Certainly, definitely. The only raft to cross over this bhava samsara, bhava ambodhi, for those who are titir shavatam, those who are desirous of crossing, that only raft available for us is the feet of the Lord. Oh, now that is why I should study Tulsi Ramayana, because I am also titir shavata. I am a titirshu. I want to cross over this samsara. Now see what is beautifully said here. Only for the one who is desirous of crossing over samsara, Bhagavan's feet becomes the raft. If I am happy in this samsara, then why will I have any love for, want to hold on to the feet of the Lord? That is why our Puja Gurudev always said, Bhakti for Bhagavan is directly proportional to Vairagya, this passion towards the world. When I recognize I am stuck in a cycle of samsara, change, limitation, finitude, directly proportional to that will be my affection, adoration, reverence and surrender to the Lord. See, Goswami doesn't just say, oh, Bhagavan is the raft for all beings. No. No doubt Bhagavan is the raft to take us all across the ocean of samsara. But I should be titir shavatam. I should have that desire that, oh, I realize that I am stuck in the ocean of samsara, ocean of change and limitation, and now I recognize my limitation and I want to come out of it. If that desire is not there in me, then why will I go looking for a raft? You see in Goswamiji's story at the very introduction we saw, no? Goswamiji that night wanting to meet his wife, crossing that river, what he took to be a raft? He held on to a dead body thinking it was a raft to cross over the river. Who is the real raft? See, we take support in so many things in this world. We take support in our finance, that I will be secure with money in my life. This is one type of plava, a raft in our lives. That when difficulties come, I have some security financially. That is one type of plava. Next type of plava, people in our lives. I want my husband, wife, children, grandchildren to be there with me. That will be my support system. In America, not only children, I want my cat and my dog and my pig and my all other pets also. They also are plava, my support system. What does Goswamiji say? Yat pada plavam ekam evahi. Really, truly, my true life support system, my true raft to help me across this samsara is Bhagavan's feet only. Love for Bhagavan, bhakti for Bhagavan. Now, whether I understand this at the age of 10, 20, 50, 60, 80, at some point in our journey, we'll have to come to this conclusion. Because, see, generally what we do, we are experimenting type of beings. We like to try and test out various avenues to find success, support, happiness. But how long will we go on experimenting? So many ways, so many things we try to do to take up to better our lives. And the path which is clearly shown in our scriptures, in our shastra, and all great acharyas have followed, all great santas, mahatmas have followed, that we leave as backup option. Later on in life, I will chant Bhagwan's name. When children have left the house, grandchildren has come, at that time I will chant Bhagwan. At that time I'll have time. Anyone who has grandchildren know, when once grandchildren come, what more time you'll have? Then this one's wedding, that one's anniversary, this one's thing. Is that how life gets more and more busy and complicated? The more and more people and things come in our lives? And what is the guaranteed raft? Guaranteed by all santas, mahatmas and scriptures, that raft we keep as second option, backup option. First my money and my finances, the people in my life, the pets in my life, medical system, everything. All of those are our raft, our support system. And finally at the end is Bhagwan. Bhagwan, I'll remember you when I run out of all options. Bhagwan, you are not my first choice. You are my backup choice. So actually, from this study and reflection of this entire Tulsi Ramayana, Bhagwan should become not my main choice, not my main raft, my only raft. When Bhagwan says in Bhagavad Gita, Yoga Kshemam Vahami Aham, I will take care of everything that you need and I will protect everything that you have. You think Bhagwan is like us, making false promises up in the air? Castles in the sky? Bhagwan is not like us. Bhagwan talks the talk and walk the walk, as they say. So when it is said Bhagwan is Yat Pada Plavam Ekam Evahi, he is the only raft, then we should think, how come this idea in my mind comes that anything in this world will really support me, especially when it comes to the end of my life? In the end, what really I can hold on to for any support? Therefore, we should tell Bhagwan, Pahi Mam, Pahi Mam, Pahi Mam. पाहि मां हर हर गंगाधर नीलकंठ पाहि मां राम कृष्ण गोविंद हरे पाहि मां राम कृष्ण गोविंद भजे पाहि मां राम राम सीता राम रामचंद्र पाहि मां राम राम सीता रामचंद्र पाहि मां नारायण गोविंद भजे पाहि मां नारायण गोविंद भजे पाहि understand yat pada plavam ekam evahi, then without any doubt, pahi mam, protect me. I see you, O Lord, as the only raft, the only support, the only one I can truly take surrender and refuge in. Our Hanumanji alone best depicts this. When Hanumanji goes to introduce himself to Sita Mata, he doesn't say, I am Hanuman, son of so and so. He says, I am Ramadutame Matu Janaki. I am servant of Rama. How do we introduce ourselves? I am Mr. So and so. I have such and such background. We should learn to be like Hanumanji. Ramadutame, I am servant of Bhagwan Shri Rama. Veera Maruti, Gambhira Maruti, Veera Maruti, Gambhira Maruti, Veera Ati Dhira Maruti, Veera Maruti, Ati Dhira Maruti, Geeta Maruti, Sangeeta Maruti, Geeta Maruti, Sangeeta Maruti, Duta Maruti, Ramaduta Maruti, Duta Maruti, Ramaduta Maruti, Bhakta Maruti, Parama Bhakta Maruti, Bhakta Maruti, Parama Bhakta Maruti, Veera Maruti, Gambhira Maruti, Veera Maruti, Gambhira Maruti, Gambhira Maruti, Gambhira Maruti. Pavanaputra Hanuman ki Jai, Siyavar Ramachandra ki Jai, Bolo Bhai Sab Santan ki Jai, Shri Satgurunath Maharaj ki Jai. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Hari Om everyone. Sita Rama. And do join us again for tomorrow, our final night of this Tulsi Ramayana Yajna, celebrating our 15th anniversary with Chinmay Mission Bakersfield. So do join us again tomorrow for our final night. All right. Hari Om everyone and Sita Ram.